People look at this fight and compare it to Mayweather fight. You think Mayweather is like Canelo, or Mayweather is like Crawford, or Mayweather saying game plan?
I don't know. I don't really know. But, I put that fight in other place right now. I think Crawford is a little better than Mayweather. But Canelo have more experience right now. No, and I think it's totally other fight. I don't want to compare this fight with other fights. I think this fight is one of the best fights in the boxing history, and that's it. Don't get me wrong, okay? He's a good fighter, a great fighter. I always say before I see him calling me out and won the fight and everything. I see before, I say before he's a great fighter. But if you look at his career, mention one elite fighter. Just mention me one elite fighter.
We'll fight an elite fighter in September.
Yeah, okay.
Then we're
gonna find out.
Then we're gonna find out.
You think this fight does more for your career than fighting David Benavidez?
You can see the career of Terence Crawford or Benavidez. Terence Crawford is undisputed champion in 2 weight classes, many championship fights. So he bring me something to the table.
You guys heard it. Your ears did not deceive you. So Canelo Alvarez, who said with one breath to Crawford's face that he beat no elite fighters. On another breath, Canelo Alvarez said that Crawford is better than Floyd Mayweather, the Michael Jordan of the sport, who beat a dozen of elite fighters, including Canelo Alvarez himself. He smoked Canelo. Man, if that's the case, if Canelo thinks Crawford is better than Floyd, he's gonna get smoked. However, the reason why Canelo took this fight is because he's fighting a mini Floyd, a Floyd who had to move up 3 weight classes to his 6th weight class to fight Canelo. That's why Canelo took this fight. Remember, when Floyd fought Canelo, Floyd had to move up 1 weight division to his 5th weight class to fight Canelo. However, Bud, he had to move up pretty much 3 weight divisions, something that has never been done before, for a fighter to move up 3 weight classes pretty much to fight an undisputed champion. Like I said before, that's equivalence of Canelo moving up to heavyweight to fight Usyk for undisputed. He will never do that. But let's get back to Canelo and dissect him contradicting himself. So, you mean to tell me Canelo believes Crawford beat no elite fighter? However, at the same time, he believes Crawford is better than Floyd? How? How, Sway? Floyd beat Manny Pacquiao, a generational great. Floyd beat Marquez. Floyd beat Canelo himself. Floyd beat Maidana. Floyd beat Sugar Shane Mosley, not just a Hall of Famer, a legendary fighter. Floyd beat Oscar De La Hoya. Floyd beat Ricky Hatton, Castillo, Corrales, Zab Judah. And I can go on and on and on about the fighters Floyd Mayweather beat. So Floyd did all of that. He's 50-0. He beat Canelo not just every round, but every minute and every second of that fight. When Floyd Mayweather was older, smaller, meanwhile Canelo was in his prime and he was in his bully weight division. You mean to tell me the unified champion that got smoked by old-ass Floyd, he still thinks that Crawford, who beat nobody elite at least, is better than Floyd? You cannot come up to that conclusion if you believe Crawford beat no elite fighter. So we all know Canelo Alvarez is full of shit right there. Excuse my French. You see, Canelo, he want to have it both ways, but he can't do that. If you want to say Crawford is better than Floyd, then you got to give Crawford at least the credit he has earned. You see, the only way it makes sense for Canelo to say that is if Crawford beat him and completely smoked him. After the fight, then Canelo can come out and say, yeah, Crawford is better than Mayweather based on my experience and being in the ring with both of them. But before the fight, And while you saying Crawford beat no elite fighter, that's crazy work. But either way, Shaq had to come into Crawford's rescue because as soon as Canelo said that Crawford beat no elite fighter, that's when Shaq started scratching his head like, man, why are you fighting him then? And he asked Canelo, what about Benavidez? What will be a better fight for you, Benavidez or Crawford? That's when Canelo woke up and started pointing out what Crawford accomplished that even Canelo himself couldn't accomplish, such as being an undisputed champion in 2 different divisions. The reason why Canelo remembered that is because Canelo could have done that. However, he turned down his biggest payday at that time to fight for undisputed by unifying the division against Andre. Do you guys remember when Crawford said he wants to become undisputed in that division and that division, and he went out to do it? Well, Canelo did the same thing. He said his goal and dream is to become the first undisputed Mexican champion in the middleweight division. No one is going to stop him from doing so. Until Andre became the WBO champion, that's who ended up stopping him. And Canelo ended up moving up in weight instead of fighting for undisputed for his biggest payday at that time. The reason why I'm pointing this out, when Canelo said to Crawford, name the elite fighters you fought, Crawford should have had told Canelo in return, you beat no elite fighter. You ran from the elite fighters that you were supposed to fight. Meanwhile, I fought them. I fought an elite fighter who was a gold medalist and a champion named Gamboa. Gamboa was an undefeated fighter who was on the top 5 pound for pound. Errol Spence was another elite fighter who was on the top 5 pound for pound for nearly a decade. You also got Sean Porter, who his resume is more stacked than yours, Canelo. That's right. If you're talking about the fighters you fought instead of the fighters you beat, Sean Porter has more elite fighters on his resume than you, Canelo, because I challenge you to name the fighters you beat, the elite fighters you beat, not the ones you fought and got your ass whooped by them. We don't care about Floyd and Bivol because they whooped your ass. Name the elite fighters you beat. And even though Canelo would have had tried to drop the names, like Gennady Golovkin when he tested positive for PEDs in the rematch against him, or Lara, we all know Canelo lost to them guys, or them fights were supposedly robberies. So that don't count. Crawford could have had easily pointed out, when I fought an elite fighter like Errol Spence and Sean Porter, I knocked them out. I didn't end up robbing them or having a close decision like you did. That means you're not an elite fighter yourself, Canelo. And if Canelo starts dropping Trout, we all know Trout is not an elite fighter. On top of that, Canelo barely beat him, which proves my point exactly that I brought earlier. Canelo is not an elite fighter if that's the case. If Canelo says Sugar Shane Mosley, Miguel Cotto, man, they were old as hell. Let's stop the pretending, and Canelo was too big for them. That's not elite wins, and they weren't elite. Sugar Shane Mosley at 41? That's not elite. You beat a washed up fighter. Miguel Cotto, he was not elite at that time. That's when Canelo is going to be forced to mention B and C level fighters to say that they are elite, like Billy Joe Saunders and Caleb Plant, stuff like that. We all know they're not elite because they beat nobody. Matter of fact, majority of Canelo cherry picks, they lost to nobodies. Munguia lost to a nobody. Caleb Plant just lost to a nobody. And Billy Joe Saunders has beaten nobody. If you compare that to Crawford's resume outside of the elite fighters he beat, like Spence, Gamboa, Porter, Amir Khan, and fighters like that, Jeff Horn at least beat a somebody like Manny freaking Pacquiao. Postal knocked out the Machine Mathise, something that nobody did. Flex Diaz was a gold medalist, and stuff like that. More importantly, Crawford could have had really cooked Canelo by letting him know, I'm the boogeyman, the undisputed pound for pound #1 king of the sport. You the duck man. You run from the elite fighters. Why didn't you fight Benavidez? I run to them. That's why I came to see you. They said you an elite fighter. Here I am. Whenever someone called me out, I fought them. I fought Benavidez when he called me out. You ducked Benavidez. I knocked him out. So let's keep it a buck here. That's how you point out Canelo Alvarez hypocrisy. He want to use old media and the race fans' talking points, just like Errol Spence was doing. And we all know how that ended. You see, truth be told, Canelo has never beat an elite fighter. The only thing Canelo did was lose to elite fighters. Floyd is above elite, but when it comes to Bivol, he is elite. And we all know when Canelo fought Bivol, Canelo has never beat any elite fighter. Matter of fact, Bivol didn't even beat any A-level fighter. We all saw how Canelo lost to him. Therefore, when Crawford was being all nice to Canelo, giving him more credit than he has earned, what was the point and the purpose of Canelo just randomly throwing out, you beat no elite fighter or you never fought an elite fighter? What was the purpose of that? When Bivol, who never fought an elite or even an A-level fighter, beat his ass. You see, the point is Canelo wanted to shit on everything Crawford worked hard for. He got no respect for Crawford for real. It's all fake love and respect. If anything, Canelo is jealous of Crawford's accomplishments since Crawford did things Canelo couldn't do, such as becoming undisputed. Crawford did it first and last. While Canelo can't even do or accomplish what Crawford did, he can't become twice undisputed in 2 divisions, let alone in 3. Canelo doesn't have the cojones to move up to fight Usyk for undisputed like Crawford is doing to fight him. Matter of fact, Canelo doesn't have the cojones to fight Benavidez, a guy that was in his same weight class. Let's keep it real. You see, when Canelo completely contradicted himself when he said Crawford is better than Floyd, he was only saying that for him to follow up after the fight if he is victorious against Crawford, so he can say, I would have had beat Floyd because now I got more experience than when I was in my prime and Floyd was old. As if we don't know Crawford is moving up 3 weight divisions. As if we don't know Crawford is 38 and Canelo is like 34, 35. We all know that Crawford is pretty much handicapped in this fight. However, old media, Canelo, and now even Crawford is on board. They trying to sell the fight as if Crawford and Canelo are the same size and they are in the same freaking division, 147 or 154. As if Crawford is not moving up to his 6th freaking weight class, moving up 2 divisions simultaneously, and pretty much 3 weight divisions altogether since Crawford only had 1 fight at 154. If you're not the one that's taking the risk, then you don't get to take the credit. If Crawford is able to pull this miracle off, then guess what? He's one of the greatest fighters of all time, top 5. On the other hand, if Canelo beats Crawford, if Canelo knocks out Crawford, it's going to be looked at the same way when Bernard Hopkins knocked out Oscar De La Hoya. Nobody really cared because they said Hopkins was too big for Oscar De La Hoya. Even though Oscar only moved up 1 freaking division to fight Hopkins. Oscar was at 154. He was fighting there for years. Hopkins was at 160. It was only 1 division. Imagine if Oscar moved up 3 weight classes to his 6th weight class to fight Hopkins. Man, they would have had laughed at Hopkins if he wanted credit, since he already got the debit in cash. That's all he's getting. Therefore, you gotta see how it works. If Canelo wants the same credit Crawford is about to get, if he beats him, he needs to move up to heavyweight to fight Usyk for undisputed. That will be equivalent to the credit Crawford is getting for moving up to fight Canelo. Now, if Canelo wants less credit than that, which is still a significant amount of credit, Canelo needs to move up to his 4th weight class to fight Bivol, the man who beat him already, which Crawford already did that at 154 against Madrimov. Or Canelo can fight Benavidez. the Mexican monster, which Crawford already did that time and time again. Anyways, while Canelo avoided his rivals, Crawford, on the other hand, he smoked them, at least the ones that was willing to raise their hands. On the other hand, it was Canelo who was doing the ducking. We know Crawford, the fighters ducked him. However, Canelo, he was the one that ducked the fighters, aka his rivals. I mean, the audacity for Canelo to say, you fought nobody elite, when he's the one who's legendary known for running from the elite fighters. He ran from Jamel and Jamal along with Andrade at 154 when they were all champions and he wasn't. He ran from them to fight freaking Smith, a European fighter, for Andrade vacant title because Andrade got tired of waiting on his ass. And at 160, we already know he dropped his title to avoid Jamal, his mandatory, and turned down undisputed against Andrade. At 168, he avoided Morrell and ducked Benavidez, his mandatory, for over 3 years. He said, I'm not going to fight my people, Mexicans, and then he went on to fight Munguia. At 175, he ducked the rematch with Bivol and Beterbiev, a fight with Beterbiev. He turned it down, but he fought Kovalev. You see what I'm talking about? Since he want to talk about elite fighters so bad, but doesn't have the cojones to fight the elite fighters. This man doesn't have the authority to talk about elite fighters when he ducked them. We don't allow liars to rewrite history when we know the truth, Crawford. Man, you better wake up and hop back to your gangster mode. Checking Canelo. I ain't talking about walking up to him. Now you got to be checking him. And you got to be pointing out how much he ran from elite fighters and how bad he looked against B and C level fighters, let alone A level fighters. And let's be clear, Canelo never beat an elite fighter. If we actually mention the fighters Canelo fought in their prime, like Daniel Jacob, Trout, Lara, Gennady Golovkin, he either robbed them without a gun, just with a pen and a paper, or they were not even A-level fighters. They were B-level fighters, B plus or something like that. Furthermore, for the people that don't know, Salido, for example, who beat Lomachenko, has one of the best resumes. He beat Lomachenko, he fought Gamboa, Marquez. I mean, he fought so many fighters, but you don't get credit for the fighters you got your ass beat by. They only rank you based on who you beat. And that's my point exactly. Canelo trying to flex about who he lost to. Nah, we don't care about that. We care about who you beat and who you ducked. That's how the rankings work. There is no way you can say Canelo beat more elite fighters than Crawford. No freaking way, let alone with the performance alone. Draws doesn't match ass whippings the way Crawford did against Spence, or the way Crawford knocked out Porter. You compare that to Gennady Golovkin and Lara when Canelo beat them, it's night and day. With that being said, go ahead and drop your thoughts in the comment section below on Canelo Alvarez's hypocrisy, saying that Crawford is better than Mayweather. Meanwhile, with the next breath, he said that Crawford beat no elite fighter. So how the hell you came up to that conclusion? Subscribe below. And to be continued on the next episode of Akhi, Akhi TV. Peace out. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.